Welcome to the Neutral Zone. This is Jason Schwartz, your host. We're here every Monday at 11 a.m. We are somehow getting a techno problem. We'll see what it is. Otherwise, you would have been hearing an opening song. But now you're hearing a different opening song, so be it. Well, it's really an interesting situation. We're using the right dongle. They call it a dongle. Can you imagine Apple would call, with all their fancy names, they create a little adapter because they made a phone that you can power it, but you can't get power and sound out at the same time. So they have this little adapter. And here we are doing radio, you can imagine. So I have a whole board of music and clips and things and sponsors. By the way, we have 2 new sponsored donors that we're going to announce next week. We're happy to. I am here in the studio with you. The thing about the Neutral Zone is we're anything but neutral. We are people that, me, decided it was a good idea to put in the clutch and talk about subjects from all sides and all angles with me and guests and you out there, whether you're going to be calling in on 873-3435 or whether we call out. Maybe we have an issue and we want to call somebody about that issue. I think doing it live will create a real interesting dynamic on issues, especially when we're calling people in a political year. That's quite an exciting time, and we want you to be part of it. So the Neutral Zone is anything but neutral. But we're not going to bring politicians here on the radio. But we're going to talk about issues that clearly have people behind them that can help make changes. Today we have a guest, a very special guest. I'm going to read you a biography from the back of a book called Endless Energy. This book is written by Debra Greene, Ph.D., and that's our guest in the studio. Well, let me read this because I think this is interesting. This is from Bruce Lipton. Many of you know Bruce Lipton wrote The Biology of Belief. This book, Endless Energy, offers an informative and skillfully woven presentation on how the mind, emotions, and energy fields shape our physical life. Included are valuable step-by-step strategies to manage our energy bodies and regain sovereignty over our health and happiness. Deborah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jason. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know, I am happy to say we did an interview in a very funny situation. I was given the job to open a motion picture studio. And that motion picture studio, I was now checking it out, so I brought a guest to do a show, and that was Debra Greene. This is some years ago already.
I remember it well. It was very green.
It was very green. We was a whole place built out like a green screen, and it was interesting because I knew it wasn't soundproofed when I heard the chickens crowing and from beyond the wall, and that was my clue that I was definitely not looking for a long tenure there, which is what ended up happening. The whole thing kind of imploded. Well, anyway, welcome to our show.
Thank you. And green screen means that you can superimpose anything on top of it, right?
Yeah, that's the point of
like
green
in
screen
video
is,
or TV.
Yeah, they put a color that is not.
They
something
didn't just
we
name
have.
a screen after me.
No, we could have.
Well, it is because my name is Green.
I know that. We used to be blue screen, but they found that this very, I want to say shocking, electric-looking green is something that may not be on our clothes and everything. So in the television, in post-production, or if they do in a live switching, they do what they call chroma key. They tell, when you see that color, put in that other video. So we could have you in France, or if we're talking about...
Got it.
Let's say we were talking about smart meters, which we're going to talk about in a second. We could show it. And that's why I think that not only in this example here, we're going to have television shows. Some of it will be some of the interviews we do on radio with video so that we can show some of the things we talk about. And so it's a really interesting time. I mean, here I am. I'm sitting here with Deborah. And just before we started, she said, television. So it's an interesting time in that we have media and we have rules that affect us as radio, but we have television. Oh, no, that's not really technically. That's Facebook. Facebook Live. So if you're not here at 11 a.m. on Monday, you can watch it anytime. I want to get into the subject matter. I'm just quickly looking up and getting an idea. I'm just kind of getting an idea. I don't see the cutoff. We're going to be jumping out to a sponsor in a little while, but it's important for everybody to know that this is a casual place. Every week it's going to be different. We want to be neutral. We're going to be talking to people about subjects, and some of them very controversial, like this one. You ever heard of the word smart meter? Well, what is that? Well, that means, we're going to let our guest tell us in a second, but it sounds like something that's really smart to do, that's going to help you take a look at something and be smart so you have more brain to figure out what they do. Deborah, first of all, welcome to our show. I can tell I'm running on here.
Thank you. No worries. I mean, it does seem as though smart meter, I mean, if it's smart, it must be a good thing, right? But in fact, as I hope we'll learn quickly, is if anything has the word smart in front of it, be afraid. Be very, very
like the smart
afraid.
Phone that doesn't know how to play sound when we need it.
Yes, and your smartphone that emits dangerous levels of electromagnetic radiation, just like smart meters do. So, what is a smart meter?
Please.
On all of our homes and, buildings, commercial businesses, anything that has electricity that's coming from the utility company, there's a meter to measure the electrical use. And meters typically are mechanical, they're analog, they have little dials on them that turn, and those meters are being replaced by digital meters that communicate wirelessly with other meters and with a hub and transmit data. In the case of Maui, the smart meters that exist here, all of which are in Maui Meadows in Kihei.
So let me tell you, this is an electricity meter.
Yes.
Smart meter involves electricity. So that means all of you out there who have electricity, raise your hand. I can't see you. It means every one of us.
Yes,
But in Maui
unless you're
Meadows-
off the grid. If you're off the grid, then you probably don't have a utility meter because you're making
unless
your own
maybe you have a
electricity.
solar system. Is that a smart meter?
Solar systems are still tied into the grid. Most of them are. But I mean somebody who's off the grid, which means
But I
they're
mean, if
producing...
you were off the grid with the solar systems, you wouldn't necessarily then have a smart meter.
If you're off the system, if you're off the grid with solar, you would not have a utility meter.
The reason I bring that up is I've always been a big proponent. The utility company is there as a backup. I don't particularly want them there at all. So I would size my solar system to be independent of the grid. So some people, when realizing that this has huge tax credits and all kinds of stuff,
right?
That's why I was asking that. Because I ran into I just went to the Maui Film Festival, and boy, am I tired. That was really a wonderful experience. But I spoke to a solar company there, and I said to him, "Whoa, you guys have meters. Is that a smart meter?" And he said, "Well, it's kind of smart." I said, "How do you deal with it?" And he was from California. They have, I guess it's a franchise here. And he said, "Oh, we deal with it in every state." So that made me think that maybe solar has some kind of a meter. So that's why I was asking, because I would like to think that solar, which is a renewable energy and really progressive thing, and people that aren't, the reason I brought you on with this, not only are you knowledgeable about smart meters, and that's the subject we're talking about, which maybe we can legislate, or that's what we want to talk about, our rights and what we can do about it all, but you're a doctor of energy medicine, and to me that's really, when we have signals coming out, what is that doing to us? You were mentioning about the phone.
Right.
Some people I know can't even be near their phone. Mm-hmm. In fact, we have a mutual friend who can't even be somewhere close in their own house to it. And
Right.
people that see there's a tower out there and it affects them horribly. So that's what we're talking about, isn't it?
Part of what we're talking about, yeah. There are people who are very sensitive, electrosensitive to these invisible energy, fields that emanate from wireless devices, like cell phones, like cordless phones, Wi-Fi, baby monitors, microwave ovens, things like that.
So before these energies were in our air, we didn't have to deal with these things. So this is a whole area that many of us
Right, we're all
haven't really
guinea
had much
pigs,
experience.
basically. It's a grand experiment. It's happening on a global scale, and we're all guinea pigs in this experiment because there is no research. There is no precedent. What's happening now has never happened before in the history of the planet. And we're being inundated with these kinds of electromagnetic, fields,
Devices, yeah.
and devices that we're basically bathing in these frequencies, which have very well established, well known negative health effects. But the problem is that, if you're old enough to remember, like I am, probably you are old enough to remember when we were all being told to smoke cigarettes because we were told that they're good for us, they're healthy, and they would help our lungs. And especially if you had asthma, you were supposed to smoke cigarettes.
Wow, I don't remember that one, but that's pretty dramatic.
Well, yeah, doctors
remember
were recommending that people smoke cigarettes.
I remember when my father's doctor died of lung cancer, I knew he had the wrong doctor.
Yes.
But they go out and smoke cigarettes behind the
So what
clinic.
what happened in the tobacco industry, as you may recall, is that there was a lot of evidence that cigarettes were harmful to people, but because the tobacco industry was so strong, so powerful, had so much money, so many lobbyists, they were able to prevent the research from being exposed, and they did that by discrediting the researchers and by purposefully confusing the issue and paying off certain experts and officials to endorse these things. And that's exactly what's happening right now with these kinds of wireless devices. We're being told that they're safe, and they're not, and it's well established that they're not safe, but the telecom industry, the wireless industry is purposefully trying to confuse the issue, convince people that they're safe, discredit any research that shows otherwise, and they're doing that at the expense of human health on various levels.
Are there things we can do to empower us against it? Or can we shield ourselves in some way?
Yes, we can. I mean, there are many steps that you can take. For example, with the cell phone, I think I'm pointing at this camera here.
Sure.
You can. This case, for example, is called a safe sleeve, and that's because the back of the case. Sorry, the front of the case is actually metal, and the metal blocks these frequencies because these frequencies are in the microwave frequency range. And we know that you're not supposed to put anything metal in a microwave oven because the microwaves cannot penetrate metal. They can penetrate just about everything else, but not metal. And so when you use something metal, it blocks it helps to block the radiation. So you can get, a case like this that blocks, and to use your phone this way, you dial the number, you answer the phone, and then you close, and there's a little cutout here where you speak on the phone with this case closed to protect yourself. And then also inside here, I have another device, which is called it's a tiny little thing. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a Q-Link Clear, and it's just another layer of protection which I've added, to this. I just put it in the sleeve there, and then I also protect my body by wearing jewelry or pendants that have been researched to show that they help mitigate the electromagnetic radiation. This particular necklace is called biogeometry. And so there are things that you can do, and my advice is when it comes to protecting yourself from electromagnetic radiation, dress in layers, like have layers of protection. And one of the things that I dislike about smart meters is because in terms of other, devices, I can choose whether I want a cell phone or not. I can choose to turn my cell phone on or off. But when it comes to smart meters, in many places, they are implementing these, without people's permission. On Kauai, for example, the island of Kauai, they had a mandatory implementation of smart meters. Kauai is covered, blanketed. They have over 30,000 smart meters there. And when the utility company slaps a smart meter on your house, you cannot move the meter because you don't even own it. It belongs to the utility, and you can't turn it off. And it basically is irradiating you 24/7, 365. And
are we having any kind of data accumulation over there, or something to compare it with, to be able to say, hey, I know that you here on Maui have been very vocal and trying to block these guys from putting it here en masse. Mm-hmm. And so far you're holding them off, but it's so all far. Of us. I know. Maybe that's where we should. So to me, I think that the message is clear that in this age of energetic medicine, that's why you're here, and an expert about it. You're not just casually mentioning this. You're someone who knows what you're speaking about. So often people get on and they're talking, but they don't have any foundation. But you already are deep in the awareness that this is not good for us.
True, and I've seen evidence of it.
Yeah, well,
it's,
I hope that alone makes, I think that's the most important thing. So we're talking about science that is already proven. We're not guessing here. This
right.
Guess.
And if you want to check out the science, you can go to a website called bioinitiative.org, bioinitiative.org, and they have done an incredible job. This is a group of scientists and MDs, researchers from all over the world, and dozens of them, and they have amassed together this huge document, hundreds of pages, and they have gone over almost 2,000 pieces of research and come to the conclusion, pieces of research on wireless technologies, and they've come to the conclusion that the current levels of so-called protection established by the FCC are inadequate to protect human health. And if you don't have time to look at the entire document, they've summarized all of their findings. It's very accessible.
Bioinitiative.org.
Yes.
I see.
Check it out.
So we don't have results from what's going on in Kauai health-wise.
Just anecdotal.
Okay.
I can tell you my personal experience.
Please.
because Kauai has their own utility. Okay, all the rest of the islands are under Hawaiian Electric, which consists of MECO here on Maui, HECO on Oahu, right. HELCO on the Big Island. And the parent company of those utilities is Hawaiian Electric, but Kauai has its own electric company, and KIUC, I think, Kauai.
But they're a citizen group. They're
a co-op.
They're co-op locally.
Right, and
so they made their decision. And
the board made the decision to go with smart meters back in 2012, I think, which is when the federal government was subsidizing these things, and they didn't tell any of their their customers. They just basically, if you went to work in the morning and came home at night, they would have put a smart meter on your home without even saying anything.
Is there a way, or is there a law that says you can now say no, or is that
so? Just let me finish talking about Kauai, and then I'll answer that question.
Got it.
So they got these mandatory implementation of smart meters, and there was no notice. The people of Kauai were caught completely off guard, and if they wanted to opt out, they had to pay to not have a smart meter. They had to pay to get it removed. They had to pay a monthly fee, and they had to pay a one-time opt-out. So it was very,
It was economically
they were being penalized.
unreasonable for
And
them.
and some people, call this extortion, when you have to pay to not have something that harms you. It's extortionary. At any rate, the people of Kauai rose up, fought a very hard fight, and they didn't have any success to speak of. And then people started getting sick. And I mean, I'm in touch with people on Kauai because we're kind of united, in this effort. And we're doing an effort, here on Maui. It's kind of focalized on Maui, but extends to the whole state. And I'll talk about that in a moment, a notice of liability process. And when I contacted people on Kauai and said, you guys, let's, get on board with this. Let's do this. And I talked to a number of people, and every single one of them said the same thing. We are so beaten down. We can't do anything. We're sick. We're getting ill from the radiation from the smart meters. One of the key people actually ended up getting cancer, and they just can't. They just don't have it in them to fight. So the anecdotal evidence is that it's nasty. Sad.
I think we're almost ready for commercial. I don't have a high sign from anyone, but so we may get broken off here in a second.
You don't mean commercial, you mean sponsor?
Well, the station takes 3 minutes to say hello to everybody and sponsors. Nice. We have the MauiMiracle.org, which is going to be coming online about values. That's one of our sponsored donors. Nice. And Cash for Gold Come Ein Alone. I have a friend a long time, Richard Dan, who's a wonderful guy. So I thought that it's really important to mention them because they're going to keep this open forum available for us, this neutral zone. I don't know how they'll give us a high sign. I'm normally thinking they'd count us down. But let's continue. I just don't want to break off and have you think we're breaking in the middle.
Right, so you asked if there's any law to prevent this.
Well, here we are in a political year, and so it's like, okay, so who do we talk about this? Who do we get to be our hero to change the law? Are there other things we can do? That's what I want to talk about.
Okay, so I mean, anybody who's running for any office should be asked questions.
Is there a bill or something we can say? Look, we want a choice.
No.
Is that something that could be proposed by anyone?
Not now. It's too late for this session.
But I'm saying, here we are. We got another one coming. So whoever we're putting in office in November, maybe we're a little early, but. Yeah. It's important to think about that as we're asking these candidates who and what they are. And, it's not like a citizen like you or me saying it. If you're sitting in seat number 6 in State House and you propose this, that's what I'm really looking at.
Yeah, and I'm the effort that I'm supporting right now doesn't have anything to do with legislation.
But you wouldn't mind getting some support?
No, not at all. And I think it's a good time to ask candidates for any office at all what their opinion is on wireless communication, on the installation of more cell towers and antennas. Ask them their opinion on smart meters. Ask them their opinion on 5G, which is another threat that's coming.
You had just mentioned that in today's news, that you just got a little notice about a new ruling. Would you mention something about that?
Well, I'd have to look it up because it just came in.
This just came in today.
An email.
Listen to this one.
So, I mean, before I talk about this, I feel like I need to at least tell people what 5G is, because if they don't know what 5G is, this isn't going to make any sense.
Well, of course.
So 5G is the next generation of wireless technology. 1G basically, in the 90s gave us cell phones, and then 2G, text messaging and so forth, and they've just kept increasing the speed and the efficiency, then video streaming and so forth and so on. Well, so 5G is the 5th generation of this wireless technology, but it is categorically different than anything that we have so far. Oh. And what we have now are we have cell towers and antennas, distributed wherever there is, wireless technology. And the towers and antennas are mostly in commercial areas. They're on business buildings. They're on, if you here on Maui, if you drive by the old smokestack of the sugar mill, the entire smokestack is covered with cell antennas. And so you see clusters of these things everywhere in big towers and so forth. But with 5G, all of that is going to change. And instead of having these big towers and antennas in commercial or unpopulated areas, instead we will have what is called an array, and it's a small antenna, and these will be just everywhere. I mean, we're talking every 10 to 12 houses in urban areas. We're talking complete and total saturation of these antennas. And that is a really
big
scary
concern.
And terrible thing.
So once again, who makes that kind of decision?
The wireless industry. I mean, they're pushing
board.
They're pushing this on us.
Is this something we can? This is like the Federal Communications Commission that has a board meeting about it, based on.
Yes, the problem with the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, is that they know nothing about human health. I mean, they don't know about biology. They don't, and so it's they don't look at the health effects. At any rate, you asked about this email that I got, and the exciting thing about it is that the National Resources Defense Council has filed a lawsuit against the FCC, and they're challenging the legality of the FCC's order exempting these small wireless facilities, these antennas that are part of the 5G infrastructure. They're challenging those being exempted from environmental review. So, I mean, that's exciting because something, could potentially come of that. That's a big challenge, to the proposed saturation of all of these antennas. And I mean, 5G is being touted as the best thing since, the invention of consciousness. It's like, bigger, faster, stronger, and
Right.
You can have all of your smart appliances communicating with your smartphone and
have a drone fly in and deliver it. Right?
Yeah.
Goodbye retail
And,
stores.
you can have a refrigerator that keeps track of all the food inside and all of the expiration dates. And then if something expires or you run out of it, then the refrigerator automatically orders it for you. And then the drone comes and delivers it. And this is the kind of future that is being actively
Artificial
pursued.
reality. We'll sit in one place and go on our vacation. Huh?
Yeah, and I can't, I can't think of very many people, that I know on Maui who are interested in that kind of future. But that is what is being pursued, actively pursued, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, it's really quite something. The plans that are being
the reason
put
you see me
into
looking
action.
around, I'm expecting some godlike voice to come and say, "Okay, time for a break," but no one has, so they might jump in with us. But so I'm just going to continue, if you don't mind. Okay.
Let's.
I know I'm jumping all over the map, but I'm thinking of you're a resource who knows this is not good. What efforts can people do here to be involved? Get off the neutral zone. And, I mean, that's what we're doing here. Well, I'm hoping that others that may want to defend this technology that'll either call in at 808-873-3435 or come as a future guest, and because these are the things that we hope to talk about to then get the public interested in aggressively being part of solutions that we can discuss here openly. So what can people do?
Well, we mentioned briefly a moment ago how, asking candidates for any office what their stand is on wireless technologies, if they're aware of the negative health effects. I mean, there's also the whole privacy invasion issue, which we haven't even touched on, but that's another aspect of this ubiquitous, pervasive, blanketing.
What if I didn't want to order blueberry yogurt again?
Right. Or, I mean, the thing about smart meters is that every electrical appliance and device inside your home has a unique electrical signature. And smart meters are able to permanently record the data from all of those devices. And to the extent that they can tell what time you get up in the morning, when you go to bed at night, do you take a bath, do you take a shower, do you raid the refrigerator at night? And when are you on vacation? And on and on and on and on and on. And that data is, of course, a gold mine, because as we've been told over and over again, data is the future. Data is the gold mine of the future. And right now, we are actively being surveilled, spied on outside of our homes, but inside our home, we're still guaranteed the right to privacy under the Fourth Amendment. But with smart meters, that all goes out the window, because we are effectively being spied on inside our own homes. And, smart meter experts who are proponents of this gush about, oh my God, the data. It's like the difference between looking at an X-ray versus looking at a functional MRI, because they can track these things almost in real time. And for them, they can then mine that data and sell it, and it's another way of making profits. So anyway, that's a little bit about the surveillance piece. So we have health effects, we have negative health effects, and we have surveillance, invasion of privacy in our own homes. What can we do about it is what you asked. So,
well, you can answer anything, but yes, to me that's what I want to know.
So one of the things that can be done about it, aside from talking to people, talk to your friends, your neighbors, talk to politicians, candidates, whatever, just talk about this. Keep it at the top of your mind. Another thing that you can do is to participate in our notice of liability process. And this is something that is being supported by In Power Movement. It's In Power Movement, not Empower, but IN, inpowermovement.com. And in collaboration with In Power Movement, I'm focalizing the effort here in Hawaii, and started this back in September of last year, hosting notice of liability parties. And the parties are designed to bring people together who want to file notices of liability, and we're filing against individuals who are implementing technologies known to do harm, in this case smart meters, and we're holding them liable as individuals. And that's the important piece, because it means that they cannot hide behind their corporation, they cannot hide behind their team of attorneys, they can't hide behind their titles. They're being held accountable as individuals. And so far we have filed against the CEO of Hawaiian Electric, the president of Maui Electric, and all three of the current Hawaii Public Utilities Commission commissioners. And
wow.
At this point, I don't actually know how many signing parties I've hosted, but we probably have between 40 and 50 people who have filed so far.
I see.
And we continue to do this.
So this is financial and otherwise? I guess financial is. So these people are now personally responsible, no corporate veil keeping them away from personal responsibility for not giving someone a choice about these meters? Is that what it is?
Well, it's not for not giving people a choice. It's for implementing technologies known to do harm. And in this case, what we've named are smart meters, which are now, by the way, no longer being called smart meters, because they know that that's a term that people are onto. Common, yeah. So now they call them advanced meters and advanced metering infrastructure. So we're asking for a return to the safe, reliable mechanical dial analog meters. And we're asking for any and all smart meters or advanced meters and advanced meter infrastructure to be removed. That's what we're asking
I see.
for.
So that means that someone that might want to be involved may not even own the property. Renters could bring it up.
Renters welcome.
Whether they have a smart meter on their location or not, or even if they...
Anyone who lives in the state of Hawaii can file. It doesn't matter if you pay the electric bill or not. It doesn't matter if you own the home or not. And it's because everyone is affected by this. That's the problem. It's like if I live next door to you and you have a smart meter and I don't, I'm affected by your smart meter because we're talking about wireless technology. It's not confined to your home or your meter, right? It's radiating, at a distance, and it affects anything and everything in its path.
So let me just see if I understand. Inpower.com.
Empowermovement.
.com is where they'd find information on what they can personally do to express this to at least these people that run these utilities that will be personally and are, and by your definition, personally liable for putting out this technology that affects all of us.
Yes,
Great.
and so step one is to go to that website, watch episode 1 of the video series, and then if you decide that you want to participate in this movement, this notice of liability movement, then contact me. And I will let you know when the next signing party is. In fact, I could tell you right now that our next signing party is on June 30th.
Okay, so if you're listening to this in current time, what's a way that people can get in touch with you easily? I know we'll probably put it up when we hit the internet here and stuff, but
so you can email me at Debra, Debra, at yourenergymatters.com. You can call me.
Go ahead. Phone number?
874-6441.
Okay.
Area code 808, of course. So call me, email me, carrier pigeon.
We have carrier pigeon.
You can send me a text message at that number, even though it sounds like a landline.
We're in a new time. My cell phone is a number that someone said, how did you... I took a business number, and when we could take our numbers with us, I said,
poured it over.
Why should I leave this?
That's what I did, too.
Right, I know. So we're going to be talking some more. Like I said, I'm expecting that hand on my shoulder. This is the neutral zone. It's anything but neutral, as you're hearing. I'm your host, Jason Schwartz. I'm here with Debra Greene, and we're talking about all kinds of stuff, energy related. You now have years of experience as a practitioner with energy. What kind of things do you help people with in the work that you do with that?
Well, the particular aspect of energy medicine that is my practice has to do with energy psychology.
Oh.
And so it's basically applying what we know from the field of energy medicine to the psyche.
I see.
To human functioning.
You have amazing people that have read your book and have
endorsed it
quite a bit about it. I know.
All kinds of PhDs.
All kinds of people.
And researchers, and because the book has been referred to as the new home health guide for the 21st century, because the book is about energy medicine, and it's about the use and care of your energy bodies. And we all have these energy bodies that we need to attend to.
Well, it's interesting.
In addition to our physical body.
Because many of us, me included, haven't had as much awareness of that. Well, I think we can all feel it as life goes on. We're getting more and more in touch with that. I don't know if it's like a group thing. We're all moving in consciousness toward the same direction, and we're suddenly waking up and more sensitive to things. But this has been going on a long time. I remember, 30 years ago, where someone said, "Did you see that? I just saw red arrows coming out of you and blue arrows coming out of her." All kinds of stuff. So I think that the unseen, it's really an important thing in so many aspects of life.
Yeah.
And
from the perspective of energy medicine, this physical body is just an outpicturing or a reflection of what's going on the unseen levels of our energy bodies. And so if you really want to, be healthy on all levels, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, then you need to attend to those levels inside yourself. What's going on inside yourself, because that's what's going to determine what happens externally.
Well, I would like to say, only because we live in an America that is unusual at the moment, it's important that we think about the unseen and the unspoken. These things 20 years ago, someone would say, Jason, you're just woo-woo. You're hanging out with all these new agers and all these things. They're not real. But we know they're real, and we have science behind it. It's things that are going on that here in America, and maybe all over the world, things are often known before we give them credence. We, like you said, they used to have telling us cigarettes were a good thing for us. And then I saw a movie last evening called Serengeti Rules, and I thought, well, what's that about? It's about the rules of what they learned about nature and systems from studying in the Serengeti, which is an area in Tanzania in Africa. It's an amazing truth that we all wake up 20 years and 30 years and 40 years later, and the things that we were told were bad for us were actually good for us, and good for us, bad for us. Well, there's a local company that many people think of as the big bad wolf in the chemical pesticide arena. Are
you talking about Monsanto?
I am. They're changing their name
yes,
to protect the innocent, but
and that's the beauty of a notice of liability process, is that it can also be applied to corporations, I should say individuals
in corporations
like that.
I see.
It's not specific to only, the smart meter issue, but that's how we're implementing it right now.
And this is a private citizen thing. It has nothing, like you say, it has nothing to do with the government, although help from laws is something that you definitely, I'm sure that you would be important in helping structure that as far as limitations and things. I hope that our audience is not only listening but taking notes, because we've had bioinitiative.org, movement.com. Good website address. What do you have a website address?
I do. The website that I put together that's focused on the smart meter issue is keepyourpower.org. Keepyourpower.org.
I see.
And you can also check out radiationpage.com. That's my page where I put up all of the info, that I have about. I have video on there about how to safety-proof your cell phone. I have some. These are all YouTube videos, which you can also find on my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Debra Greene. But I also have videos up there on 8 household electronics that are hurting you, which are kind of interesting videos because I hired a master electrician to go through my home with all the instruments to measure radiation from household devices and appliances, and we filmed the whole thing. And then I also talk about solutions. Most of the solutions are either free or extremely low cost. So radiationpage.com is that website.
We are, I can talk on about this, and I want to talk about a couple of more things here, of course, but I think this really, I want to use this moment to give Debra a break, because she's been talking up a storm here, which is great. We're the neutral zone, and that's important to recognize. That doesn't mean we don't have opinions. It means we welcome all sides of opinions, where we can talk like humans, not like Facebook responses that shred each other and don't seem to be finding where we come together. We hope to come together on a very important place. That's called values, and how we all can agree. And then legislation can continue, and we in the private sector can cooperate. Even if we don't agree with each other, wouldn't it be nice if we liked each other, because we get to know each other from easy discussion? that we want to find a solution. I mean, the biggest thing with nature and the biggest thing that's happening so much is the will. We have to have the will. And we hope to create that kind of an environment here where you can call in with issues that are important for you, or if you have stances on things that we're talking about. That's what we want to be able to do here. Akaku is a TV, and KAKULP 88.5 FM. We are the voice of Maui, and we're only a voice of Maui if you are involved with us. And that's what we hope you'll tell everyone about 88.5 FM. Now, right before me, you'll hear Shaggy Jenkins. He's our, I guess he's the manager of the whole thing. And Tony has a show at 1 o'clock, the local show. But we are having different shows come on. And I'm happy to be here Monday. I'm sure we're going to get a lunch sponsor soon. I'm hoping so. We want lunch close by. Any of you? Anyway, that was our break. Debra, you've studying energy for a long while, yes?
Yeah, about 25 years, and have had a practice for that long.
What got you involved? Was it a personal experience, or how did you become aware of energetic things?
Yeah, it was personal experience. Basically, my life fell apart. It's a good catalyst, And in trying to find solutions, I hit upon the science of subtle energies, and started learning about our energy dimensions, our energy bodies, and it just completely, blasted open my world. And you mentioned earlier about how we've all experienced these things, and most of us have had experiences of subtle energy phenomena. Something as simple as the sense of being stared at. How we can tell if somebody's staring at us. Many people can feel that, even though they're not looking, to see that the person is staring at them. They can feel, the eyes in the back of the head, whatever. That's a really common phenomena, and that has no explanation from a conventional, biologically based materialist perspective. Right. Why would people be able to feel that they're being stared at? To acknowledge something like that, you pretty much have to acknowledge, the realm of subtle energies and their existence. Another one is, precognition things like you're thinking about somebody and then they call, or they text, or whatever. Right. And many, many people have had that experience as well. Another one is, when I do talks, I ask people things like, do you believe that your emotions, are confined to your body, or, do you feel other people's feelings? Do you think that your emotions can travel? Can your thoughts travel? And 99.9% of the people say yes. Yes, I believe that my thoughts, they travel. I feel other people's feelings. They feel mine. Well, again, if we're using the biologically based materialist model where emotions are just brain chemistry, how is it that we can feel somebody else's feelings? How is that possible? And I'm sure all of us have had that experience of feeling somebody else's feelings. In fact, it's well established in social science. It's referred to as emotional contagion. If you're in a room with somebody who's experiencing a strong emotion, you will begin to feel the same feeling within 2 minutes. And it doesn't matter if that person is a total stranger or not. Wow. How can you explain that? If emotions are just brain chemicals, how do my brain chemicals jump over and affect your brain chemicals? Well, they don't. They can't. And it's because that model is faulty. And if we begin to understand ourselves instead in terms of energy fields, or what I call energy bodies, then these things start to make sense and are very easily explainable, how those energies of thoughts and feelings and emotions travel, and how our system is kind of like an antenna picking up on those things.
Very important stuff. I mean, these subtle things that we'll be talking about here are obviously getting more and more attention.
And more research,
Yeah, and there's
legitimizing.
more legitimizing and supporting the truth in them. And I think that's a part of what we're doing here. We're letting people know that. And, we're talking about smart meters and we're talking about energetic things. But in life, there's a lot more below the surface. And, just like you talked about feeling someone's emotions, there's also a level of intuition that happens. And all kinds of subtle things that if we got in touch with, I think we might be a lot better off. Things like empathy. I mean, I don't want to go off on another whole subject, but there are a lot of things going on in our world right now, and we know that you out there, you can call us. I don't know if we have time here, but 873-3435. We're going to be setting up a blog online about different issues and some of these issues here, so we'll be able to kind of create a website that's going to show values and shows that we're doing and looking for your involvement. Call in. We're going to call out and talk. Let's say you have an issue and we're all in agreement. It would be very interesting to call someone. I wonder if that's invasive. It may be invasive. We can say, you're on the air. Can we say that like Jay Leno might say, or who is on there now? Kimmel? We can call all kinds of people live from a radio. That's very exciting. I wonder if I'm sure that's got to be allowed. That's a fun thing.
I know that you can't record people without their knowledge or permission, but I don't know about it being, live on the air. But this show is recorded, right? And archived?
Recorded,
and you probably can't, sorry to say.
Well, we'll find out. We're going to try it. I think that the only thing we can do is push the envelope because, that's what I think is important, that we try something. And why would someone want to not? I mean, it's obviously going to put somebody on the spot. We'll see. Maybe someone wants to do research and get it to us. We've got a couple of minutes to go. I'm not sure which clock here is going to be. I think it looks like we got about 2 minutes to go. Debra, you're a very welcome guest, and
Thank
what
you.
You're talking about, obviously I brought you here because I thought what you were talking about was very important.
Thank you.
And it was an important subject that our viewers hear. It's an easy way for us to get into a very important subject with someone who knows what they're talking about something. Smart meters, again, advanced meters from the utility company, Wi-Fi and all that. I'm going to see if I can rattle off a couple of websites. One more time for you who are listening right now. InPowerMovement.com, bioinitiative.org, yourenergymatters.com. See that? Not a bad memory. So
good for you.
That's good, right?
And the one I would add to that would be keepyourpower.org, which is the website with more information about smart meters in Hawaii.
Good. And it's really nice to know that there are citizen groups that are doing things, whether or not someone gets into office. It's an important enough issue that citizens take the initiative to bring it up and gather it up. If there are things that you'd like to talk about anything, we hope to be leaders to show you what can be done. Debra, you are a great leader. Thank you for taking the energy and time that it takes to put this together for all of us, because it is for all of us that we do this.
Yes, it's true. And we have to do it because oftentimes the powers that be are not necessarily acting with our best interest in mind. So,
thank you all for joining us. Debra, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jason.
We are
Pleasure
here
to
at the
be here.
Neutral Zone, 88.5 FM, KAKU, Voice of Maui. We'll see you next week, same time, and hopefully we'll have the sound all set. Be well. Aloha.